Two fascinating things are happening right now. Electric car sales are skyrocketing in China. In the month of February, they were up nearly 100%. In the month of March so far, well over 100%. But one fascinating trend, plug-in hybrids are actually being massively outsold by electric cars. People are saying to themselves, what I've been saying for years, why buy a plug-in hybrid or any kind of hybrid or any type of car if you can get an electric car? Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. Great to have you with us. Looking at this data, I'm really shocked and surprised to see nobody reporting on this information. It's very, very fascinating. It's a very important trend. It shows you that legacy automakers, Nissan, Toyota, Ford, General Motors, Volkswagen, etc., all of them, they are going to be kicked out of China within a few years' time. Now, it is true that NEV, new energy vehicles, meaning plug-in hybrids, e-revs, and fully electric cars, sales for all of them grew by approximately 55% in February. So a good figure, 55%. I mean, in fact, it's fantastic. But it doesn't really give you a full picture because data from the Chinese government reveals that actually electric car sales grew by 94.4% in February. 94.4% versus February of last year. That's staggering growth. Whereas plug-in hybrid sales growth only was up by 53%. So clearly, this is a vast gap in performance. 94.5% versus 53% is an enormous difference. And as you can see, electric cars are growing at a much faster pace than plug-in hybrids so far this year. What this means is that around 56% of all cars sold over the last 6 weeks in China have been new energy vehicles. But a higher percentage of those vehicles are fully electric than what are plug-in hybrids. In fact, a much higher percentage are fully electric. And I think it's very likely now, by the end of next year, probably around 80% of all cars sold in China will be NEVs. And of those, around 50% will be electric. What this means is the pie, as in the number of available, the amount of available market share for internal combustion cars in China will have shrunk enormously. And who makes money selling internal combustion engine cars? Primarily Western legacy automakers. In a car market of 31 million cars, it's double the size of America's car market. It's exceptionally important to legacy automakers. It's where they've been making many, many billions, tens of billions of dollars over the past decade. And that's about to totally change. Now, those numbers don't really tell you the full story because, yes, 95% is fantastic, right? But it looks like that 95% number pales in comparison to what's going to happen in March. So far in March, NEV sales in China, new energy vehicle sales, have grown by 116% from the same month last year. You look at the S-curve, right? The S-curve gives us an idea of how fast things are adopted. And on that S-curve right now, we're at that skyrocketing phase where things are just going crazy. We're going from those old BlackBerry, those old Nokia phones to smartphones, and it's just happening within a very, very, very short space of time. Some of the world's most polluted cities were in China, or even are still in China. But now China is moving away so quickly from internal combustion that I think we'll find if you go and travel to China in 5 or 10 years from now, remember most of the motorbikes, the scooters, they are also electric in China. You're going to find what I've found, which is actually, it feels not bad in some cities in China to walk around and breathe the air. You don't feel like you're breathing in pollution like you are in many Western cities. It feels like, oh, it's fresh air. And there's cars everywhere, but it's fresh air that you're breathing in. It's quite a refreshing experience. And I think for the billions of people who live in cities, this will transform their way of life. It won't feel like the noise will be much quieter. The air will be much cleaner. And it's going to be a much better future for all of us, not just people living in one city in America and California, not just people living in Norway, but for people living everywhere, all around the world. Because trends like this are irreversible. We're not going back. We're not going back to the old school. It'd be like going back to a horse and cart. The future is electric cars, autonomy, and a lot of other crazy stuff, which I've talked about. Tony Seba's predictions I'm about to do another video on that, by the way, that's coming up very soon. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. Electric car sales in China have just risen by a staggering 82%, which is a new record, obviously. Volkswagen Group, their EV sales have fallen at the same exact time by more than 50%. This is the beginning of the end for legacy auto. And it's the beginning of something remarkable for the planet. Electric car sales in China this year have gone absolutely ballistic, guys. Looking at these numbers, I'm trying to think to myself, does this mean that by the end of this year, internal combustion could be dead in China already? It's happening that fast that actually it is possible. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. Great to have you with us. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. Electric car sales in February in China grew by a staggering 82% growth versus February of last year. What this means is that preliminary data suggests around 60% of all cars sold in February were electric, meaning either plug-in hybrid or fully electric, or hydrogen powered, but no one buys hydrogen cars in China because they're smarter than that over there. The estimated sales for NEVs, or new electric vehicles, was 840,000 in February, which is traditionally the worst month of the year for car sales in the country. Now, looking at this graph here, you can see cnfpost.com, you can see here, every time it dips, it's February. In fact, every time it dips, it's January and February. But as you can see, January and February dipped a hell of a lot less than January and February of last year. So incredible numbers here. What this means is that if you include January in the numbers, so far this year, electric car sales have grown in China by 50% versus last year. Now, even if EVs don't take 100% of the market share in China this year, they almost certainly will next year, considering this current trajectory, this current growth rate, which is just truly staggering. It shows you that people in China are saying, you know what, why the hell would you buy an internal combustion engine car, purely internal combustion, when you don't have to? For the same price, you can get something much better, much more fuel efficient, potentially something that's much cleaner to run, and something that's much, much better to drive as well. So which car makers did really well? Well, one, BYD. They delivered 318,000 vehicles worldwide. And their growth outside of China was staggering. In fact, it grew by 177%, closer to 180. So anyway, 177% growth from BYD in terms of their global sales outside of China, showing you that BYD are really coming.